Margie here. Unfortunately, too many people are using skincare products that contain endocrine disruptors that can have negative effects on our bones and overall health. So, today we're going to look at skincare and we're going to look at some new advances that have come out that are not only healthy for our skin, but also for our overall health. We're going to talk about the science behind skin aging and the emerging role of something called senolytics and how daily skincare can be a meaningful ritual that supports both confidence and well being. And I'm really excited about our special guest, Cynthia Garcia. And Cynthia is the founder of Rewritten and a leader in identity based transformation. She's done so many things in the health space, and she also has done a lot in terms of really helping people change the story that they're living with. And I'm just so excited because this is full of so much great information. So stay tuned. Welcome, Cynthia. So happy to have you on the podcast.
I am so happy to be here with you, Margie. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, so I'm excited about this because, we're trying so hard to do all these good things for our bones, for our overall health. And there are some things that people just don't realize can really make a big difference for your overall health, but also you'll look better. So I'm sort of psyched about what we're going to talk about today.
Me too. Me too. I'm kind of a science nerd and always have been. I just love. My background is in clinical nutrition. I've been doing this for 20 years, and then, as you know, recently moved into the beauty industry and was able to bring a lot of that education and years of experience with me to try to just make it a little bit of a healthier option or a much healthier option for the things that we see in the market. But yeah, we can talk all things bones and beauty and wherever the conversation leads.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just start with what, obviously, to create this great product and to even go in that direction, you saw issues that people were having with their regular products that people didn't even know about. You want to share what's been going on in this industry that, as someone who, I mean, you run health coaching schools, you've been in this business for quite a while, that was really against, things that were not supporting our health that I think, everyday people are just doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really 3 parts to that. So, when I turned 40 is when all of this started, Margie. I turned 40 and I started getting really nice birthday text messages and flowers and, all the nice things people do for you. It's a beautiful thing. And then somewhere along the line, those birthday wishes started sounding like obituaries. Instead of just like, "Happy birthday, I got, I hope you had a good ride. It's all downhill from here."
Right.
One woman texted and said, "Enjoy becoming invisible." And I was like, "What is going on? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard." And so I responded back to her and said, "Oh, that's not gonna happen." And she said, "That's what we all said." And I was like, "What in the world?" So that was the first thing. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we have to do something about this." Like, women can't believe that 40 is the beginning of the end. Like, that was the craziest thing ever. I feel like I was just getting started. Like, some of the most interesting women I know are just getting started at 40, 50, 60. And so immediately I knew I had to do something about it. And as I started digging into the science of skincare, there was this big thing that kept coming up. People said, skincare doesn't work. Skincare doesn't work. I've tried everything. It doesn't work. So first I was like, well, why doesn't it work? So I know we have to rewrite this story about aging first and foremost. Then we got to give people a great product. So if it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? And so that led down years and years of research and clinical testing. And what we were able to find is one of the root causes of aging, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Margie, is these senescent cells or zombie cells, which is a more fun way to say it, right? Got little zombie cells on our face. And we all have them. We have them inside of our bodies too. We can't just scrub them off or that kind of thing. But they're important to know about because these zombie cells, they're not alive, but they're not quite dead. And what they do is they cause inflammation. They deplete collagen under the skin. And that's what starts causing the fine lines, the wrinkles, the aging spots, the sallowness in the skin, that type of thing. And not only do they cause that, but they infect the healthy cells next to them, which also become zombie cells. In zombie movies, when the zombie bites a human, then it becomes a zombie too. Same thing on your skin. And so I thought, okay, well, if we could get those off, then we could actually have the skincare you're using work. And so that was the first big thing. And then the next thing, or the second thing, I guess, after rewriting the story, figuring out the root cause of aging, and then looking at, okay, how do we create this? And that threw me down a rabbit hole, Margie, because I couldn't believe the ingredients that were in these skincare products that were made for women. They were just the worst. I mean, there's 3 real big offenders that we came across, and so that was the 3rd piece, was formulating a clean skincare product that doesn't destroy your bones and doesn't destroy your hormones in the process.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, the endocrine disruptors, because that's
Yeah.
people don't realize what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many and like where to start basically. So endocrine disruptors is a huge thing. It's the most common beauty product ingredients mimic or interfere with your body's hormones, including estrogen. So women are who are already dealing with declining estrogen are now using skincare and they're unknowingly exposing themselves to chemicals in this skincare that further mess with your endocrine system. And they're doing this every single day. So I mentioned there's really 3 big offenders, right? So there's triclosan, there's phthalates, and then there's parabens. And if we can go through those, it's interesting. At they're all kind of different, but essentially they all interfere with the estrogen. You know, estrogen is guardian of your bones, right? It literally tells your body to slow down bone breakdown. So when estrogen drops after menopause, that bone reabsorption accelerates, as you know, which is why postmenopausal women are the highest risk group for osteoporosis. So the last thing we want to do is accelerate that even more. And there's numerous studies we could cite. I know you're big into studies and getting to the root of these things that really address all of these.
Yeah, I mean, how silly that you could be, just by putting something on your skin, and people they don't realize it all gets absorbed into your system, so it really makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. And that's the other thing too. So, people talk about like what gets absorbed, what doesn't get absorbed. So, according to the Environmental Working Group, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, the average woman uses 12 to 13 personal care products every single day. Now, what that means is she's essentially exposing herself to over 100 unique chemical ingredients. And some estimates put that number of individual chemicals as high as 515 chemicals if you're using perfume in addition to your personal care products. So the average woman in her 50s and 60s has had what? 30 to 40 years of exposure to these products, sometimes on a daily basis. And so the studies that we have that look at this single chemical exposure are astounding. I mean, there's so many areas that we could go into and so many ways we can get into this, but when you look at using this cumulatively for over 30 years, that's concerning, or at least it should be concerning.
Hey, Margie here. High quality supplements are a big part of a comprehensive osteoporosis program. To help you, I offer a significant discount every day in my supplement store through FullScript. FullScript has the most extensive catalog of professional grade supplements and wellness products I've ever found. So all you need to do is go to tinyurl.com. That's tinyurl.com/supplements for less. And you'll get to my FullScript store. And in there, you'll see my favorite bone building supplements. So make sure to check it out. And the link will also be in the show notes. So let's get back to the show. Yeah, absolutely. It's and the good I mean, the thing is, it's like people are like, "Oh, I'm old, it doesn't matter." No, 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 no. It's a build up over time, and at any point in time, wherever you start is a positive thing. And it's not as though I always tell people, "All right, start with one thing, start with one thing at a time and gradually start replacing so that they're not so overwhelmed because it's completely doable, but it doesn't have to all be done at once."
Yeah, no, I think that's important to remember. And I mean, it's not just that we're putting these chemicals on our skin. I mean, oftentimes people will say, but my skin's a barrier. Maybe you've heard this too. How much of it really gets through? Like, I understand don't put it on, but that's the whole point of the skin, right? Is to be a barrier. So there's this myth, I don't even really know where it came from, that 60% of everything you put on your skin gets absorbed into your bloodstream, but that's not actually accurate. Your skin is a barrier, yes, of course, it's what holds us all together, but here's what is true. First of all, certain chemicals, especially those small lipid soluble molecules like parabens and phthalates, which are in most personal care products, they absolutely penetrate through the skin. And we know this because researchers have found these exact chemicals in people's urine and blood plasma. And you may know this, but the CDC's National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, they detected triclosan in roughly 75% of all Americans tested. Phthalates showed up in more than 75% of people tested. So they're clearly getting into our body. So the question isn't, are they getting in? It's what are they doing once they're there?
Yeah, no, that's the upsetting part. So,
Yeah.
so we have to go back and, I always look at it that we can only control so many things. There's
Mhm.
toxins in the environment,
Sure.
but this is something that we can control, and the products are good now, like, for example, what you've created. So why don't you keep going about the zombie cells, because I think it's important. You did something really unique that hasn't been done before, and I think that, why don't you share how that can work, how you figured out what can actually make a difference here?
Yeah. So once we figured out like what is the root cause of aging. So I'm a root cause kind of gal. I know you are too. If we could just get to the root cause and fix that, then great. Let's not deal with band-aids. And so that was the first thing is why is skincare not working, but also why do we age in the first place? And that's where these zombie cells really came into play. That's how we discovered them. And so once we had discovered them, we thought, well, how do we get rid of them if that's the case? And so it turns out you can't just use the nice scrub or exfoliant, it doesn't work. And so we did extensive research on this, and we've now sourced the world's first and only approved ingredient to clear away zombie cells, but also to regenerate new cell growth, which is really nice. So it's not like we just want to get rid of them, we want to regenerate new cell growth, which is what we did. And then after that, we thought, what else what else does mature skin need? Like, what does that really look like? If we could make like a product that not only cleared away zombies skin cells, regenerated new ones, but then really cared for mature skin, what would that look like? And so that's what we did. Like we added a barrier protection system, which is super important, especially as we age. Our skin loses moisture. The elements and oxidative stress can cause breakdown of the skin even faster. So we added that. We added hyaluronic acid to add moisture and plumpness back to the skin, two different molecular weights of that. There's a beautiful oil combination in there that just moisturizes and hydrates. And then we also added salicylic acid to help with any sort of, adult acne or shedding of the skin that might cause pores. So it's really a four-in-one replacement serum, which is really exciting.
Yeah, so to tell people, because I love this. I have to say, I think the biggest thing I noticed for me when I add, because I liked my skin routine I was doing, but
Yeah.
I noticed in the winter my skin gets really dry, and that
Yeah.
and since I started using this, it's incredibly moist. So I think the moisture, whatever you've done with the barriers, really has made a big difference. So, and it's so soft too. That's the
Oh,
the other thing I found, that it's really so soft. So at what
yeah.
point do people, so you use your own cleanser. So at what point do you recommend using this? Like, how would you tell people to use this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the order is actually really important. So cleanse first. If you're using a toner, go ahead and apply that. And then the very next thing that goes on is the rewritten show the face up. That's what it's called. Because that's what we want every woman to do, no matter what age they are. Instead of hiding or feeling invisible, we think you should show the face up. So that's what we call the product. So you'll apply that to your face and your neck and your chest right after that. Give it a moment on its own. Like we actually created what we call the rewritten ritual. So anytime you grab the product, we send you a link for a private podcast. We also tell you how to do this ritual. And it's 2 minutes where you show up, you apply your skincare, and you just have a moment for yourself. We encourage you to take one story that you've told yourself or that's been told to you about aging. As you age, you become invisible, that kind of thing. And that you spend 2 minutes rewriting it. So you look yourself in the eye, and instead of saying, I'm becoming invisible, I'm breaking down, all of these things, you say, I'm choosing to show the face up, or I know that I'm just getting started. And through using that ritual and that mantra, one, we rewrite all of those stories we've told ourselves. Ideally, we're more happy, more accepting of ourselves. Plus, it also gives time for your skincare to absorb before you move on to adding the next thing. And that's really important. We want to make it so that it's on that clean skin targeting those zombie cells. So you don't want to put on a thick moisturizer and then add it because it can't penetrate as well.
You wait a couple minutes, then you put your
Yes,
moisturizer, and you're good to
exactly.
go.
Yeah. And we invite
I
you to spend those 2 minutes with yourself.
I think
Whatever
that's
you-
so important, and I love the name "Rewritten" because I just think, stress is such a big problem for people, and the negative feelings, especially when it comes to, people can be nice to everyone else, but we're sometimes so mean, and the labels we give ourselves are just so horrible that to spend 2 minutes. I always tell people, like, look in the mirror, and say good things about yourself because it really is transformational. So I love that 2 minutes to rewrite who you wanna be because, too often we have a story about ourselves that isn't positive and that really takes us down, and who needs that? Because I'm such a believer that we don't have things can be good as you get older. There's so many we've gone through so much with at each age that we have wisdom, we have other things, and so why not rewrite the story to something that you wanna do? And yeah.
100%. I mean, stress defense, just in life, right? Not even just skin, but just in life and as we age is, as you know, so very critical. As a matter of fact, it's so critical that with Rewritten, we have an ingredient in there called neuroproline. And neuroproline neutralizes the impact of daily stress on your skin. So ours, we did numerous studies on this, and study results shown that up to 70% of cortisol is reduced, and there's a 163% boost in beta endorphins. So not only do you feel calmer and more balanced and overall happier, but your skin looks calmer, more balanced, and more radiant. So we fully agree with this stress factor as well.
Wait, so where did they measure the stress? That's unbelievable. They
I know, right?
actually
Yeah, it's
measured cortisol levels?
measuring cortisol levels and then measuring beta endorphins. So those were what the two different studies were based on for norepinephrine. It's crazy, right?
It really is because it's
I
such a
know.
big deal. I talk about this all the time because I don't really think people appreciate that. People when it comes to their bone health, they wanna do the right exercise, yes. They wanna eat the right foods, yes. They believe in all this. But then when I tell them about stress being a big part of it, I don't I tr or and happiness as well. I on even though there's research on it, I have to really convince people, but I truly don't think "Let me get my exercise, let me do my" they don't realize how critical it is, but it reduces the bone building cells, the osteoblasts, and increases
Yes.
the activity of the osteoclasts that are breaking down your bone. So it's so, so important. So I love that. I love that aspect of it. That's
It's critical. And and you're using skincare products anyway. Why not use a product that has that built in? Because again, right back to what we were talking about, how absolutely these ingredients cross through the skin's barrier, which is why they're so effective on cortisol and stress inside the body, even though you're applying them on the outside. But why not have it do both things, two at once?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I knew all about the other things. I knew about the hyaluronic acid, the senescent cells. I knew about all of that. I didn't realize about the cortisol. Very interesting.
Yeah, we really tried to, again, make it because the other thing we heard from women is like, I'm too busy to do skincare. And so we thought, well, what if we could put in an ingredient that clears out those age promoting zombie cells, regenerates new ones, gives your body that stress defense, brightens with antioxidants, hydrates, and locks it all in with niacinamide, which is a barrier support. What if we just did that? If we give it to them all in one? And that's been, I think, people's favorite is they're like, I can just do this, throw on a moisturizer and go. Because we put the vitamin C, ferulic acid, and everything in there as well to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, no, that's great. How long should it take for people to notice results?
Oh, that's a great question. So typically women say they feel the difference right away, and you might have felt this and maybe
Yeah,
not, but as
very
soon as you
soft.
apply
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it feels like a cashmere sweater for your face or a silk pillowcase. And immediately you should see a glow, you should see that plumping factor. And that's a beautiful thing in surface level, and that's great. We love it. The real results where we're getting to the root of those zombie cells start to happen in 30 days. You'll see a major difference. You'll see fewer dark spots. You'll see those fine lines start to come back to the surface a little bit. 60 days, you'll see even more of that. 90 days is the magic spot. That's the point, and you'll see a bunch of before and after photos on our websites and in our newsletter. That's really the sweet spot at which people are saying, your friends are saying, what have you done? Like, what are you doing? Because you can just see such a radical difference. Because also that's the cell turnover cycle as well.
So good. Okay, so now people I know you do something with the bathroom makeover or, you help
Do
people
something with the
figure
bath.
out where to start because it is again, someone's listening and maybe they use a few products, but maybe a lot of what they have in their cabinets isn't
Yeah.
good. So you have some type of routine? You wanna share that with everybody? Because I think we can all benefit from this.
Yeah, sure. So it's I call it the bathroom cabinet audit.
Okay.
And here's what you can do. So tonight, today, whenever, pull out every product that you put on your body daily. So we're talking face wash, moisturizer, sunscreen, that's a big one, body lotion, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, perfume, makeup, you get it, right? Everything. And on the label, you want to look for paraben of any kind, fragrance or parfum, which is phthalates, hide there. Triclosan, BHA, BHT, those are the keywords that you want to look for. If you see those, you know that those are going to have endocrine disrupting effects on your body. So you can do with that what you will. I trash it personally, but it's up to you. And if you don't see those ingredients, or you're just uncertain about a product, or you don't have all the ingredients on the label, or let's be honest, they're so small you can't even read them. Like, I don't know about you, but my eyesight is I can't read it. I'm
Oh,
like,
I
I don't know
can
what
never.
it
I
is.
have to literally take a picture and then magnify it.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating the way they I mean, I'm sure they do it on purpose, but it's so
Sure.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just me taking a photo and
No,
zooming
I
in. No, I do it all the time. So here's one better that you can do. You can actually use the Environmental Working Group's Skin Deep database. It's free. You go in, you type in the name of your product, and you can see how they rate, and it will show you any of these harmful ingredients as well as their effect on the body. And from there, I said like throw them out. Don't throw out everything tomorrow. You'll regret that. You'll be digging in the trash, when you wake up with that dry skin looking for your moisturizer. I like to just start replacing things one at a time. And I start with the products that stay on my skin the longest. So think, moisturizer, sunscreen, body lotion, right? Because contact time increases exposure. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't eat something without looking at the ingredients, right? I hope you wouldn't. But we put products on our skin every day without a second thought. And for women who are already doing everything right for their bones, vitamin D, the weight bearing exercises, this could be one thing that is quietly working against all that effort that you're putting in. So it's well worth spending some time doing this audit and then replace things just one at a time.
And now there's good products. I mean, there's amazing products. So it's not as though you're skimping on quality because, years ago it might have been very different, but similar even to food now, there's fabulous food. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's a really good point though that you bring up. I don't know that there were products that were, say, organic or natural, but even those aren't necessarily safe. You could argue that they weren't effective, and that's a whole other conversation. And so that's why we needed the chemicals and the toxins and what have you. But I think the biggest thing with natural or organic products, because I'll see women sometimes and they'll say, oh, no, no, I'm fine. I use organic. But that's tricky because natural and organic, those are not regulated terms in cosmetics the way they are in food. So you could have a product say natural and still contain synthetic chemicals. Like I always tell women, flip the bottle, read the ingredients. If you see fragrance or perfume, that's a red flag because of the phthalates, right? You want to look for products that specifically say paraben free, phthalate free before you look for organic. And then again, if you really want to dig in, the Environmental Working Group has that skin deep database where you can look up any product and see how it rates. But I just want to caution people that natural and organic does not necessarily mean safe. It doesn't mean much of anything in cosmetics.
Well, natural really means nothing anywhere, right?
I mean, stop it. Arsenic is
Yeah.
natural, but I wouldn't take it.
Yeah, that's the
Wouldn't
worst
put it in
word,
my body.
the natural, you see it on the absolutely worst things, "Oh, all natural."
It's
Yeah.
crazy. These marketing things. I was at the grocery store the other day, Margie, and I saw a Snickers bar and it said high in protein.
Oh, gosh. Isn't it
Got to be
crazy?
kidding.
Oh,
Like,
it's so
is it
crazy.
the peanuts? Like, I don't, well, how is it? Anyways,
So I
marketing.
also want you we've known each other for a while, and I've always been so impressed with, well, even the word rewritten, but I think, because I teach happiness and I believe in this so much, but you have an amazing way that you rewrote your story and that you were able to manifest and create a vision, in terms of, because sometimes we are in a situation, let's say we have osteoporosis or we've even had fractures, certain things sometimes we can't control. But there are things, but we can control what we think about and what we manifest and the person that we want to be and live. So you want to just share a little bit about your story and how you've done that through your life and you teach that in all the programs that you create because I think it's really I think it's so important and I think that we all have this ability to manifest the life we want and to rewrite things that we don't want to be that person or we don't want that to stay with us. So why don't you just because I think it's pretty I just think it's empowering for everybody.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that way. And it's funny sometimes, Margie, people will say, "Well, it's easy for you to say." Like, actually, I had a woman say to me one time, I was speaking on a stage, and she said, "It's easy for you to say. You were probably born with a silver spoon in your mouth." I was like, "Whoa." Far from it. Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, the southwestern tip of Virginia. I didn't have running water in my home. We would bathe in a nearby creek. I would dumpster dive for clothes and as I got older, makeup and even skincare, just finding whatever because I wasn't a cute kid by any stretch of the imagination and got teased a lot and I had a really tough go of it, and had a home situation that wasn't ideal. Lots of alcohol and drug use in the home, domestic abuse, and that kind of thing leaves a mark. But I knew Margie from gosh, being a little kid, I used to watch I used to watch that show. Do you remember, Dallas and
Oh, yeah,
Dynasty?
I love that
Right?
show. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, I just wanted Joan Collins to be my mother, JR to maybe be my dad. It was the best, and so I just would see him and think, "I wanna live like that. I want beautiful skin. I want a beautiful house. I want these things," right? And so as a little kid, I didn't know anything about identity or manifesting, but I could pretend, right? And I would make up stories and, I would pretend that my bedroom I had bunk beds, and me and my sister shared them, but I would pretend it was a canopy bed in this princess room and, just saw something completely different. Like, I'd go to my grandma's to eat watermelon in the summer out of the garden, and I would pretend it was lobster. I had no idea what lobster was, I just knew the rich folks ate it. So, I just told myself a new story from the very beginning, and today and since then, I for the last 21 years, I've done a lot of work around identity. And so what I now know and can put words to is the stories you tell yourself about yourself create yourself. Your stories become reality. And so every story you tell yourself eventually creates this belief, right? You look for evidence to back it up, and then that creates your identity, and your identity creates your behavior, right? We'll always act in accordance to who we believe ourselves to be. There's no way around it. Like if you're a vegan, you're not gonna go sit down in a restaurant and order a burger just, I don't know, to see what it tastes like. You would never do that. It's just people say, "Well, that's not who I am." That's right, it's not your identity. So your identity creates your behavior, and of course, your behaviors create your outcomes, right? So let's say, you get this diagnosis of osteoporosis. That's a fact. The diagnosis is a fact. We'd all agree to that. But the story that you tell yourself about it is a choice. Now, most women will hear osteoporosis and immediately adopt the identity of someone who's fragile or declining, or I've even heard women say, I'm just broken. And so they'll start to move like someone who's afraid of their own body. Remember, your identity creates your behaviors. They'll shrink, they stop doing things. And the diagnosis really becomes who they are instead of just something they're navigating. Does that make sense how you can adapt that, right? So
Oh,
then
absolutely.
you get it.
Exactly the situation. You're feeling fine, and you
Yeah.
have a test, and all of a sudden you have a completely new identity. Instead of being an active, fun person that's going out and exploring, all of a sudden you're scared of walking outside, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Again, that identity will create your behaviors, and then your behaviors create your outcome, which is you're stuck inside and you're unhappy, and then you tell yourself more stories, right? So it
Exactly,
just
yeah.
creates this pattern. And so the identity rewrite, like I'm all about rewriting things, is I'm not someone who has, or I'm someone who has this. I'm not someone who is this, right? So you're just the person who has this particular condition. It's not who you are, right? And so the story trap looks like I'm fragile now. I have to be careful. My body is failing me. This is what getting older looks like. But that story creates the belief that decline is inevitable, which then creates that identity, like you said, of somebody who's shrinking, afraid to go out, and it will create behavior that actually accelerates the problem because now they're afraid to move. So they're not moving a lot. So they're not doing the weight bear. You get it. So the rewrite for that, it could be something like, I'm someone who builds herself back. I'm someone whose body responds to what I ask of it. This is information, not a sentence, right? Does that make sense? Because you'll behave very different if you believe that versus I'm fragile, I'm getting older, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I always say it's an opportunity, the diagnosis, because it's a catalyst.
Love that.
The catalyst to really, you've sort of been ignoring, because usually it's not as though you've had a fracture. Most of the time, you don't find out. You find out on a bone density scan. So it's not
Exactly.
like anything's happened, but
Right.
how do you get all this information like, "Oh, yes, I have some breakdown, but what else is going on?" So it becomes the catalyst to, number 1, really change your exercise. So you become strong and empowered, your balance gets better, it throws you into something maybe you wouldn't have done. You start eating better, you start putting better things on your skin. So it
Right.
becomes something, and that's what you can focus on. What are all the good things you're going to do? And then what happens is when you do these good things, you improve what you're eating, you improve your digestion is better, every part of your health gets better, your stress is lower, your happiness is greater. So it ends up you really are a different person because the actions you took were so positive. But
Yes.
but just what you said, we cannot fall into that identity trap where all of a sudden we develop the new identity. So what do you tell people to do to just sort of know that they're doing that? What's the step 1 in that where you start
Well,
getting this identity you don't want?
yeah. Well, step one is to look at the story that you're telling yourself. What is the story I'm telling myself? And then I always say, is it fact or fiction? Like, is it fact? A fact is, I have a diagnosis of osteoporosis. That's a fact. We can look at the bone scan. We can decide, yep, that's it. But fiction is now I'm weak. Now I'm getting older. It's all downhill from here. So really separate fact from fiction. That's the first step, right? And then the second step is to choose what you want the story to be. It can be this is the beginning of the end, or it could be this is an opportunity for me to start to turn this around and get really clear on okay, if that's the story, then what does that mean for future me? Really design your future self. How do you want to show up? Not like how do you think you're going to show up because of this diagnosis? How do you want to show up? I want to show up vital. I want to show up strong. I want to still continue to have my freedom. As a matter of fact, more so. And then act and then the fourth step is to act in accordance with that every single day, right? So if that's who you want to be, how would that person act? Probably they would eat well. Probably they would do a workout. Probably, all of these things that you instruct them on how to do. And here's the beautiful part, Margie, is it doesn't take much to see a difference. And when you see results, then you're like, oh, this actually works, right? And then that belief really sets in. And the more you do that and the more evidence you get to back up this future self that you're becoming, the faster you become her.
It's so true because I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I love the online community because when we get together, people are. And there's power when people are together too in community. There's something really special. But when everybody is working doing these positive things for our bodies, for our minds, for just everything, it even multiplies it more. It even supercharges everybody because, it's a lot of people thinking the same thing. So it's so true. And it's every day I think because it's not that kind of community. It's not a negative community. It's just the
Yeah.
opposite, like what's possible
Right.
and
Well,
what,
that's
yeah.
excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I got excited. That is so important. And don't you agree? And maybe you can say no, but community and who you surround yourself with is everything, Margie. It's contagious, right? It's like and I've been in this situation when things are negative and woe is me and all of these things. That's what you feel too, you know? But when you're around people who are like, I've got this, I'm showing up, I'm doing these things, you do it as well. And so I just think that's a really, you said that and I was like, yes, that too. Just really want to underscore the power of community and how radically transformative it is to not just your health, of your happiness, everything.
It's so true because we all have periods where we go up and down. But then it lifts you, and it's really important because I would see this as a physical therapist. It was so a little off topic, but you feel muscles, and I would see people, and all of a sudden they're like in spasm. And what was it? It was the church group. It was all negative. The people there. Can you imagine? There were people
Not the
who.
church
It was
group.
the church group. One of my patients had to change church groups because it was so the negativity was too much in the church. Can you but I'm just saying, I saw this all the time where, if there I mean, it's whoever energy is the strongest. So I always tell people you build yourself up, but sometimes, it's really, really important to the people
Yeah.
that you are around.
Yeah, of course. It's critical. I mean, it's so hard to stay positive around a bunch of naysayers or what have you, It's just it's true. Yeah.
But I love that. I love your whole philosophy and the rewritten, and that we all have this. And so you can come from your background and totally change your life. As you said, people wouldn't believe where you started, and you have companies now and you're doing all these amazing things. But, good for you. Good for you to be able to do that and then teach that as well so that people realize, and you're never too old for this. Never, 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 right? You can always change it up.
Yeah, never. I mean, never. Listen, we all have a lot of life left, and we might as well live every single moment of it. Why would we waste a second? And I think the other thing too is like, I'm not special. Like, I didn't, by the way, I didn't have anybody swoop in and save me. There was no rich uncle or anything like that. It was just one step in front of the other, in front of the other, in front of the other. It's fine. What I noticed though, Margie, when I got older and started studying identity work, like I said, I've studied for 21 years now, is I'm not special. And that was terrible to find out. I was like, "Wait, what?" But it was also really beautiful because anyone can do this. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you've been through. Anyone at any moment can stop and say, "This is not how I want the next chapter to go." You're the editor. You get to be the editor of your own life. At any point, you can pick up the pen and write something different. And I think we forget that we have that power because we get caught in the day to day, right? I was dropping my daughter off at school this morning and she said, "Mom, I'm so burnt out." She's 15.
Oh,
And she
no.
said, no, I was like, just wait. But she said, I just go to school every day and I come home and I do homework and I go to school and it's like Groundhog's Day every day. And I thought about that and I think, a lot of us live that life. We do. We just wake up and it's just a routine now that we go through. We're just used to it. But I think it's really important to stop and be reminded that at any point you could do something different.
So true, and so often we don't put fun, we don't put moments of joy in our day.
Oh
We don't
gosh.
even with people, there are people that we love in this world, but we don't make time to visit them or even call them. There's just so many things that we can do to really elevate our life, and I think as you said, step 1 is just stopping, pausing, you
Yeah.
know, and just sort of seeing, is this the story we want, or is there
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else? And I just believe in all possibilities, and I've seen this for my
Oh
whole
my
life, and
gosh.
and I see people in their 80s and 90 doing amazing. So
Yeah.
there's so much possibility. Anyway, well, I love this. I'm so glad you
Boom.
created this, and we'll have the link in the show notes for this. And that's so kind of you to give a discount to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, we're happy to. I mean, listen, we want to support your listeners. You do such a great job at caring for people, and it's just true. You always have. I mean, the resources you put out, the education, like I know your heart, and we thought, well, gosh, surely we can do something to help. And so we did a code for all of your viewers and listeners. It's Happy Bones. All together, no space, Happy Bones. And that's 15% off the product if you want to give it a shot or 30% off the subscription if you wanna pop on that, and it's 30% off every single month as long as you have your subscription. So it's just Happy Bones is the code you can enter at checkout.
Oh, great. And we'll have all that in the show notes. So what last minute things? You're so inspiring. I just, I mean, we should just tell everyone you have how many health coaching schools that you've.
Yeah, we have ITN, we've, put through so ITN is the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. We actually have very shared philosophies. So for me, it's about what you're really hungry for, right? And that's physically, it's spiritually, and it's psychologically. And you have that same focus with your 4 pillars, so we align really closely on that. So yeah, ITN is the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. I started it after my own health struggle years and years ago, looked for all the answers, couldn't find them, figured it out, thought I'd help other people, right? You know how that story goes. But yeah, we've educated over 36,000 coaches all across the world. And now they're out, doing the Lord's work, as we say. They're educating and helping and serving and running their own businesses and coaching clients. So yeah, it's fun to see. It's really special.
Oh, absolutely. Just spread the goodness.
I just feel like we need it, I mean, don't you? Sometimes I hear people say the craziest stuff sometimes about health and even skincare products, and I wanna re-educate the world, and
That's
just
how I
help.
feel. That's how I feel so
Is
much. And
it?
that's why I'm so, and even with bone health, I think that's how I got into it. When people are like, there's nothing you can do, and only medication. I'm like, what is going on here? So you want to spread it as much as possible. That's why we started, Dr. Millman and I started the certification program because we want to spread it to as many people as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, and that program is amazing. I feel like we need so many we need everyone certified in that program because it's so critical, and I feel like if there's one area of health that we're really 2 areas of health really, bones and hormones, and that's where people, I just feel like, don't get the help and the support that they need. I mean, the number of women that I know personally that have just been told, "Oh, it's just stress," or maybe it's just all in your head or No, it's in my estrogen. That's the problem or lack thereof, right? So, yeah, I find that, and then bone health, it's everything. It's so very critical.
So
So,
true, and I think
thank
the
you for
thing
doing
is
that.
oh, you're so sw well, thank you for doing what you're doing, but the thing is, in terms of the rewriting, sometimes you don't know the answer, and I always just say, "Dig deep. Don't stop. If this isn't what you want, keep going.
Mhm.
Keep looking for the answer because it is out there, and
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to dig deeper for that to be part of our story." So, yeah.
Well, that's 100% true. I mean, a lot of us have done that though. Maybe not always in our health, but I guarantee you that at some point in our lives, we've been told something and we just didn't accept it. And we dug deeper and we dug deeper. And, because that's who I feel like as women, especially, I feel like that's who we are. But, when I had my health diagnosis years ago, no one could figure it out. I had short term memory loss. They diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome. I could sleep 18 hours and still be exhausted. I was gaining weight, horrible cystic acne breakouts, and nobody could figure it out. And so I thought, well, I'll figure it out. And started putting together the pieces and realizing, oh, it's not just physical. The trauma I went through as a child is having an impact on all these things that we wouldn't think of. But here's what I think is important for all of us to remember: if you don't have the answers, somebody does. Right? So it's just not giving up. It's digging deep, like you said. It's doing the research. It's finding the people like you, um, who can give you those answers that you're seeking. But don't give up. That's the key.
And that's this community. This community is one who seeks knowledge. They like the integrative approach. So I've been so
Ugh.
impressed with the people who listen to the podcast and who create this community because that's who they are. It's not people who
Mm,
give up and it's not people who they are rewriting their story. So I think
mm.
all this information that you've shared is just, you know, it's just really wonderful and really inspirational because, everything's possible, I believe.
Yeah, I know it is. It's funny. I love that you say that too. People will say anything is possible. I say no, everything is possible. I said this, Margie. This is a funny story. I said that one time to a coaching client, and she was so tired of me because I was kind of pushing her and to do more and she didn't want to. And I said, everything is possible. And she kind of snapped back at me and she said, "Well, I couldn't play basketball if I didn't have legs, could I?" And I was like, actually, you could. There's a woman by the name of Jen Bricker who's also a gymnast and a New York Times bestseller, and yes, she can play basketball, so everything is possible. I love that. So true.
Oh, well, this has been so much fun getting together, and
Yes.
I'm so excited that you created this really wonderful product, and so I'm excited for people to try it and also adopt the philosophy of rewritten. I just
Mm.
think that's so special and really life-changing, and just that 2 minutes even on the skin to start. If you've never done this before, just take that time and just, really think about what stories you're telling yourself and how we can change that because it's super powerful. I mean, this is yes, this is really life-changing in such a positive way.
Yeah, we tell people, we say the serum is skin changing for sure, you'll see it, but the ritual is life changing. And it's funny, people fall in love with the ritual part, I think, before they fall in love with the serum. I'm like, whatever keeps you using it, that's great because it works. So yeah, but yeah,
Oh, well,
it's
thank you so much. Is there
special.
any last minute thing you wanna leave everybody with? This has been so enjoyable.
Yeah, gosh. I think we've covered so much. I would just say again, everything is possible. I would just say, remember who you are. Sometimes I think that as humans, because we're very human and we do tell ourselves all these stories, we tend to think, well, that's good for her, or I love that for her. Yeah, but I could never, and it's just not true. I think it's important to just really look at who you are. Like you've successfully navigated and made it through 100% of your absolute most horrible times ever, like the most rock bottom places ever. You came through that, and here you are. So don't tell me it's for other people and it's not possible. Like, remember the power that you have inside of you. And when you do, and you choose to rewrite and you choose to know that everything is possible, then it will be.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's really been fun.
Thanks for having me, Margie. It's always a great time hanging out with you. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Cynthia as much as I did. And first of all, stop and think, what story are you telling yourself? And if you're not happy with that, rewrite it. Also, do that bathroom cabinet audit. What products are you putting on your skin? And see where you can make some changes, especially the ones that do have those ingredients that are endocrine disruptors, because it can affect your bones, your overall health. And we want to minimize these toxins as much as we possibly can. Number three, I do love her product, Rewritten, and I will have all the links and in the show notes. And just remember to use Happy Bones for 15% off. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, we talked about community, and I think community is so important. And I do have the Happy Bones Club, which is our membership. We get together and we all do lift each other up. So I'll also have that in the show notes so you can look into that if that's something you may want to join us, which is we always have so much fun. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.